Mark, the movie man, here and Midwest Weird Fest and a Night of Horror International Film Festival, and I'm very excited to bring to you two filmmakers who had their final fest showing, sad face, of their film New Fear's Eve. I am here with Eric Huskisson.
Huskisson.
Thank you, Huskisson. I have, for all the time I've been doing this, I've had problems with names, so I apologize. Let's try again.
That gets hacked all the time. Go ahead.
Eric Huskisson. Well, I have a speech impediment too. Huskisson. There we go. Huskisson.
It's
Eric. We'll just say Eric. And P.J.Starks.
Yes.
And I want to thank you, gentlemen. So, end of the festival run. I've been following you guys on Facebook. The film's been successful. How does it feel now to be at the end of the festival run? I'll ask the director first.
Well, I mean, it's surreal. I mean, we just talked earlier. We traveled more last year with this film than we've done probably any film at all. And it's kind of sad because we enjoy getting our film out there and talking to the filmmakers and getting feedback from people and people talking to us about what they liked or didn't like. Now it's just that brutal wall of distribution that's rearing its ugly head that we're trying to climb over or break down. So it's bittersweet. We've had a great run with this, and this allows us to move forward with other things. So
excellent. And what about you, writer and editor, and you've been involved in this? How does it feel to have this festival run end?
I don't know how much more I have to add to what Eric said, but I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, this is so. With this film, it's the one that we've sent to the most festivals. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, we got the most rejections, but we also got into the most festivals itself. So it took us all over the place: New York City, New Jersey, Cincinnati, Chicago, Houston, and it screened over in the UK. We didn't go to that one, unfortunately. But I mean, it's gone all over the place, and the reactions have been varied, but mostly all really positive and real. And everybody's had a really fun time with the movie because that's what it is. I mean, yeah, it's a horror film, but I think it's a comedy in a lot of ways first. Sure. Even though it's not slapstick, it's more relegated to the dialogue. But ultimately, it's one of those films where you can get with your friends and watch it, and there's all kinds of nuance to it and things. I mean, there's drama and all sorts of crazy stuff in the movie, and I mean it's one that you can't take too seriously, right? Because if you overthink it, I think you won't enjoy it as much. So go in and just know you're going to have a good time when you watch it.
And that's what kind of surprised me was the sheer volume of comedy, but at the same time I appreciate that because I think some films take themselves too seriously when, especially, you're doing a slasher film or and you're introducing your influences, which you had both a lot of in here. I caught the Halloween hedge scene in there. I caught a few others. Now, when you're directing the horror and the comedy, what kind of challenge does that pose to kind of get that balance for you?
Well, actually, with PJ being the writer, he was also co-director. Okay. He co-directed. So I focused mainly on the dialogue, the actors. Since we had three main characters, which we've never had before, and when we got into this project, we did things a lot differently, and we had time to rehearse. So I was originally going to direct the whole thing, but it ended up not working. So when we split it off, I took over kind of the acting and all the dialogue. He was still there helping out. Of course, we co-directed. And then because he wrote it, it just made more sense for him to jump in and do the special effects and the action sequences because it was his vision in his head of how he wanted it to look. So it was better for him to follow through with those. And, of course, I was there and helped out with that as well. But that's kind of our focus with the directing.
And so that you're the reason where you get all those euphemisms from.
Well, no, that's his writing, but helping them get those euphemisms out, I kind of help push, I guess. Yeah.
Where did you get all those euphemisms?
Well, Eric's always jacking off on set, so that made it real easy to come up with different circumstances and scenarios to put that in there. No, I guess I grew up on a lot of like Mel Brooks's comedies, and then ultimately. Even though Animal House, I love that film, the American Pie franchise was like my Animal House for my generation. So, I mean, that's the kind of, Freddy Got Fingered, like those are the types of films that I love, which, Eric had said in the Q&A afterwards that a lot of that humor, I think over probably the last 12 years in some respects has kind of been muted somewhat
a little bit because it's getting back,
but it's really starting to come back. And I think that was one of the things too. Looks like Jeffrey Reddick was a producer and in the movie, and after he read the script, he said that's to him. That's one of the more refreshing things about the film was that it wasn't afraid to tackle types of humor that a lot of big studios have been. And I mean, we have an abortion joke, we make gay jokes, but none of it's necessarily done in a political fashion or in a way that really like punches down at people. It's done in a way where it just kind of points certain things out, because that's what movies are about at the end of the day. It's the human condition. And I think we all have to realize that ultimately, like, as much as people say they say things like, I hate stereotypes, stereotypes exist because it's a very real thing. We all just need to have a better sense of humor about who we are. And I feel like a lot of the problems that we have today wouldn't seem as bad if people could just laugh at themselves a little bit more, and that's what this movie is doing.
And you have a lot of veteran recognizable faces in here, but one in particular I have to ask because he always seems to get the most comedic and extreme kill. Why did Jason Crow get the...
Oh, you can't put that out there yet. It's got to be...
I'll bleep it.
Okay, why... Okay, to be honest, it just happened that way. It just happened that's the character that got that specific kill.
We knew Jason Crow would just say, "Hell yeah!" Jason. And so we knew he was up for it, no problem.
I could say that, like, after I wrote it, and this is the funny thing. After I wrote it, I told Eric, I said, "That's the kill that this movie's like. Everybody's that's what they're going to be talking about." When we filmed it, same thing. Like, oh, this will be what everybody talks about. And then when I edited it together, I called him almost immediately, and I was like, this is the kill that everybody's going to remember. Oddly enough, though, most people talk about Felissa's death, which is the bathroom, the toilet kill. It even got nominated for Best Kill at Days of the Dead.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, people do talk about Jason's kill, but it's weird that there's over 40 kills, so there's a lot of variety. And I'm, as much as I love slasher films, I love variety in types of kills, not just stabbing and that's it. So it's like everybody who's in the film, they all get kind of their own unique on-screen death. But why Jason?
Just happened.
He just happened. I mean, he deserves that. but it just happened that was the character that he got, and then that's the death that character received.
Speaking of unique, how challenging is it, because of so many slasher films out there, how challenging was it to come up with the look and the character and the personality for your main killer in New Fear's Eve?
I mean, I don't know if I would say it was difficult. You always do a little bit of research when you're doing anything, because you want to make sure that you're not just stepping on something that's already been done a million times. So the look and the way the killer, like the stylized, just everything about him is supposed to be a mix between a plague doctor and Jack the Ripper. And I've just always been a fan of true crime, so that's where the Jack the Ripper came from. And then as far as the plague doctor, I mean, that's kind of the fallout from the pandemic. The plague doctor look and everything popped up, and I remember sitting there thinking, like, it's weird that no one's ever really used the plague doctor for a slasher film. And turns out they have, but not in the sense that like The Burning or Scream or Halloween or any of those types of films. But there have been killers that have worn a plague doctor mask. So, it kind of worked out, and it looked cool, and everybody really seemed to love the look of the character, and we went with it.
One of our friends, B.J. Embick, he was actually an extra in Coscarelli's bar scene. When PJ came up with the idea and stuff, it was like, hey man, here's what we're looking at. So he did a lot of the illustrations, and we go, no, yes, no. And then finally it was like, oh my God, that's it. And we had a mask maker we got out of Louisville, Sean in Cowan, right? Sean Cowan out of Louisville, and he just nailed the masks. And then honestly, what's funny about it is the jacket that he wears was actually fixed by Ann Welsh. It was the jacket that I wore in Volumes of Blood and Volumes of Blood 2 as the killer. That she just added the cowl on and made it more look like an Iverness coat. So it's actually part of another film. And then I mean, it was all his concept, but then the illustration with BJ and the mask that Sean did and Ann's ad. And then, he found the vest and it pieced together, and we actually found red surgical gloves. So it just came together so naturally. There wasn't any kind of like, oh, we want red gloves. Why can't we find red gloves? It's just like, well, let's do this. And then it worked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, And the guy playing the character came in and auditioned for a role. Jesse, this is about you. Yes. He came in and he nailed an audition. He actually auditioned for Brian.
Oh, okay.
But age-wise, with the love interest, it just wasn't going to work. But we loved him. He was great. His stature. PJ goes, you know what, Eric? And he goes, hey man, would you want to be? And he's like, yeah.
It was like we called him. Yeah. We called him and we were like, Jesse. So here's the deal. It's going to look like you're robbing the cradle if we make you Brian, which he understood. But we were like, how would you like to be the killer? And he goes, hell yeah, because he's in some ways he is like Ned, but not as crazy,
right?
But he actually Ned character is the guy that plays the doctor.
Oh, okay, sure,
Doctor.
Sure.
I
love
spoiler alert.
That's not really a spoiler.
Yeah.
Ned plays the doctor.
I love the gimmick he did too with straightening, where he pulled the lapels occasionally when he came up. He pulled the lapels a little.
And I'll say this: that's all Jesse.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that you hear all the time, like when you hear interviews with like Kane Hodder and some of these other like actors who have played masked killers, they're Michael Myers.
Yeah.
It's hard because you have to add some nuance to the character to give it some kind of character. Right. And but that's what happened with Jesse. He was like, he would always say, what if I did this? Mm-hmm. Or what if the doctor does this? I think there was only a couple of times where, because of what was in the script, it was like he had specific actions he had to do. But a lot of like him fixing his coat or there's other motions and things that he does in the film, but a lot of that was him that he added to the character. So that was one of the great things about having an actor versus like a stunt person behind the mask, because he was able to add all those elements to the doctor.
And I guess final question, I got the chance to watch and review Volumes of Blood horror stories. I've seen that. That's where I've been following you guys since. You mostly do anthologies. You talked about narrative. Will you be going back to anthologies? How was this experience for you for doing a full narrative? Because I imagine the continuity had to be a pain versus like, doing shorts over the weekend. You can shoot like one short a weekend, but will you be going back to narratives, to anthologies, or you going to do another full narrative?
Before I answer that, I don't know the young lady that I came out and said hi and hugged, and then I said, and I thought, she actually was one of the actresses in that film.
Oh, okay.
She came in. She lives 2 hours away from here.
Huh.
She was in the scene with Jay that played the police officer in this. That scene with him when they were in a basement.
Oh yeah.
That's her.
Death Day Party.
Yeah.
Death Day Party, and I was in that too. But that's her. She lives 2 hours away from here. She surprised us and showed up, but that was her in horror stories. You want to take the question, or you want me to?
What was the question again?
Are you going to go back to anthologies, or are you going to do the full narratives?
We're not opposed to doing any more anthologies. We have a couple of ideas that are anthologies. One of them, the script hasn't been written. I actually have a script for what is a unique kind of anthology that I wrote back in 2010 called Devil's Night. Ooh. And Eric has read it, and he's like, keeps saying like, we need to do this, but
it's a very bold, like,
there's
3 volumes of blood, but it doesn't have to be part 3.
Oh, it doesn't have to be part 3.
Right, yeah.
Well, and then we do not that Devil's Night. I'm talking about the other one where the people, they are holed up in the house at the end. You're thinking of a different Devil's Night. Devil's Night with N-I-G-H-T, not K. It's the one where it starts out with the girls babysitting for the couple.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah.
I didn't know that.
But that's a script I've been sitting on. Yeah, it was originally called Devil's Night because it's supposed to take place in, is it Detroit?
Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit.
So that's where it actually takes place, is in Detroit. Sure. But then again, after doing a narrative, we really want to keep doing more narratives. As far as what you're saying with the continuity, 100%. It is a lot more difficult because we're also filming things out of sequence. Right. So we weren't So we were constantly having to take pictures. Our script supervisor, our wardrobe person, they were constantly taking photographs when we were on sets or with the actors to make sure that the next time
hair were nightmares.
Oh, the hairs,
hair, Lily Matthews' hair were nightmares.
And I won't say what they are, but if you pay really, really close attention, there are a few things in the film that change from one scene to the next that I notice every time, and it bugs the f out of me. I bleeped myself.
No offense to Matthew and Lily, but it's just
the way it happens, especially when you're shooting weekends. Well, thank you very much. I look forward to your next project. I hope you get distribution. I think with today's environment and the type of film you have, I think you will get distribution. So look for it soon, folks. Where can they follow up with any updates for you on New Year's Eve or what you're doing?
Well, Grindr for one. You can hit us up on Grindr.
Well, Grindr, there you go. Swipe left, right, whatever.
I have no idea. I'm pretty lame when it comes to social media. We do have a Twitter account. You can check us out. I think it's Blood Moon 15.
Twitter, we're not.
Or is it Instagram?
Instagram.
Yeah. I'm still doing Facebook.
We're on Twitter.
So.
We have a Twitter account, but we haven't started utilizing it.
Yeah. The best way to look up our stuff and find out more about us or even contact us, you can go to bloodmoonpictures.com. It's our website. Everything is on there. And then, of course, if you want, we're very easily accessible on Facebook. So you can look up Eric or myself on there and message us directly.
Also has a Facebook page.
Yeah, awesome. so you can message us there. That's really the best way.
And if anybody wants to email us about anything, it's bloodmoonpics@gmail.com. Okay. And our Instagram is bloodmoonpictures15.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both, gentlemen. Check it out, folks. Check out Volumes of Blood, too. They're fun indie films as well. So thank you very much. And check it out. Links will be in the bottom in the description of all this video and all that good stuff. So thank you.